Today is Tuesday, April 12th. We're talking about tornadoes, wildfires, and a blizzard, all expected to hit the U.S. this week. Also, new gun reform President Biden calls common sense, but some groups call it extreme and ineffective. We'll explain. Plus, what new research found about using the compound in magic mushrooms to treat depression. Gas prices are going down for a change. Could the worst be over? And which airports were named busiest in the world? Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. For the first time since Russia launched its Ukraine invasion, Russian President Putin spoke face-to-face with a European leader. But as you might have guessed, no major breakthroughs came out of that meeting. Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer says he confronted Putin about the horrors of war and the war crimes Russian troops are accused of. But he said Putin brushed those accusations aside, claiming they were staged by Ukraine. Nehammer also told Putin humanitarian corridors need to stay open so civilians can get basic supplies like food and water, and that sanctions would keep coming until Ukrainians stop dying. Still, after all of that, the chancellor said he was not optimistic this war would end anytime soon. And when asked specifically about meeting Putin in person, he said it's important to keep having face-to-face talks even if they don't change Putin's mind. Meanwhile, Ukrainian officials say they're seeing crimes against humanity, and the Russian and Ukrainian economies are really suffering. The World Bank says Russia is in a deep recession and its economy is expected to shrink by 11% this year. And still, it's worse for Ukraine. The bank says Ukraine's economy will shrink by about 45% this year because of the war and a deep humanitarian crisis. To be continued. Once again, President Biden is taking on gun reform in the U.S., starting with one new rule that's ready to go. It cracks down on so-called ghost guns. Now, those are handmade or self-assembled guns that don't have serial numbers. Some can be put together in as little as 30 minutes using kits and parts bought online. Basically, Biden's new rule changes the definition of a firearm under federal law, so it now includes unfinished parts. And that means even those parts will have to be licensed and have serial numbers, just like regular guns. And people who own them will have to get background checks. Gun safety advocacy groups are praising Biden for the new rule, and they point to law enforcement reports about ghost guns turning up at crime scenes. But the White House can expect some legal backlash on this, too. In fact, Gun Owners of America already promised to immediately fight the rule. The group thinks it violates the Second Amendment, right to bear arms. The NRA spoke out against the rule, too, saying it will do nothing to actually deter criminals. Also of note, Biden announced his pick to lead the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, better known as ATF. Biden nominated a former federal prosecutor, Steve Dettelbach. Well, he faces an uphill battle now to take on this new role. Since 2006, the ATF director has been one of the positions that needs to be confirmed by the Senate, but only one nominee has ever actually been confirmed, so there have been many interim leaders instead. 70 million people are in the path of more severe weather in the central U.S., all the way from the Dakotas down to Texas. But it's not exactly going to be the same severe weather throughout all of those states. For example, in the Dakotas, it's already started snowing, and people there and other northern plains states could see blizzard conditions for the next couple of days. Down in Arkansas, there's already been at least one tornado. And even more severe thunderstorms with damaging winds, large hail, and possible tornadoes are in the forecast for at least 17 other states. Today through Thursday, there's a high risk of big storms from parts of Iowa to Texas. Tomorrow, the storm threat moves a little further east from Illinois to Louisiana. And as if all that wasn't enough, there's also a threat of wildfires. The National Weather Service is keeping an eye on parts of Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, where it's unusually warm and dry, and it's going to be windy. The fear is the conditions are set for a dangerous fire outbreak. One major U.S. city is bringing back its mask mandate. Philadelphia says starting next Monday, masks will be required in indoor public places like schools, businesses, restaurants, and government buildings. This is because the rate of new COVID-19 cases in Philadelphia is going up. The case count yesterday was 50% higher than it was 10 days earlier. That said, the number of people in the hospital with COVID-19 is still low. That's actually what's happening in a few different big cities, so it's possible this is just the first of many mask mandates coming back. Already some universities have taken that step too. Columbia, Georgetown, Johns Hopkins, Rice, and American University are among those who have reinstated their mask policies. Well, a new experimental treatment could be a game changer in the COVID-19 pandemic. The drug maker Veru just wrapped up its trial, and it says when its new pill was given to critically ill people, the death rate was cut in half. The patients who got it were already on oxygen and at high risk for getting serious lung disease and dying. So the fact that this treatment seemed to work could be a huge deal, especially since researchers also didn't note any serious safety concerns. For now, most drugs already on the market are really made for people who just have mild or moderate COVID-19 cases. And other treatments that have been given to patients in the hospital have not been all that effective. So public health officials are hoping these trial results hold up. So far, they have not been peer-reviewed or published in a medical journal. Still, the drug maker says it hopes to apply for FDA authorization later this month. More news is coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. We can give you the news you need every day, but when it comes to hiring for your business, you need a platform that's just as powerful in delivering quality candidates for your search. And that is Indeed. Indeed partners with you on every step of the hiring process. Find great talent through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. You know I love research and data to help back up claims, and Indeed has plenty of it. Here are a few. Indeed is the #1 source of hires in the U.S., according to Talent Nest. Most, 73%, of U.S. online job seekers search for jobs on Indeed each month, according to ComScore. And here's one more. Indeed found that sponsored jobs are 3 times more likely to result in a hire in the U.S. And right now, the Newsworthy listeners can get a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/newsworthy. Offer valid through April 30th. Start hiring right now by going to Indeed.com/newsworthy and claim your $75 credit before April 30th. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. It's said to be the first evidence that the psychedelic compound in so-called magic mushrooms might work better than antidepressants. Of course, that's not really known yet. It's still very early. But a new study with several dozen volunteers found promising results. As part of the trial, researchers gave one group of severely depressed patients the psychedelic compound psilocybin. That's the active ingredient in magic mushrooms. And then they gave the other group of patients a conventional antidepressant. The patients didn't know who got what. Well, head scans before and about 3 weeks after showed a big difference between the groups. Those given conventional treatments reported mild improvements in symptoms and similar brain patterns as before, while those given the psychedelic compound reported significantly greater improvements in symptoms, and the scans showed new neural connections across underused areas of their brain. As the study's authors put it, it made their brain more flexible and fluid, helping them break out of the negative thinking patterns associated with depression. That said, other researchers feel it is far too early to make conclusions about this, that we need to see how the patients are doing over a longer period of time and better understand the changes to their personality. And in general, more research with more people is needed. Also, some doctors warn this does not mean illegal street drugs can solve mental health problems. This type of research incorporates doctors, therapists, and supervision. Americans are finally starting to see some relief at the gas pump. AAA says the nationwide average gas price is now $4.11 a gallon. That's down 8 cents from a week ago and down 22 cents from last month's record high. One industry expert from GasBuddy told Fox News the worst gas prices we've seen may be behind us. And there's a few reasons for that. One, several countries, including the U.S., have announced they'll release oil from their reserves. So there's less anxiety about supplies being disrupted from cutting off Russia. And one of the biggest factors for lower gas prices is a recent surge of COVID-19 in China. Millions of Chinese people are being forced to stay home, so there's not as much demand for gas out east. Of course, it's still not clear exactly what's going to happen to gas prices from here on out. That depends on so many things, like COVID-19, the war in Ukraine, and the hurricane season coming up. So stay tuned. As travel rebounds, airports are getting busier and busier. And it turns out 8 of the top 10 busiest airports in the world are right here in the U.S. At least that's according to the figures just released by one industry group. The very top spot went to the Delta Airlines hub in Atlanta, Georgia, the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. Nearly 76 million passengers went through there last year. That's up 76% from 2020. Next on the list is another hub, this one for American Airlines. We're talking about the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. And third place went to Denver International Airport. Other American airports that made the top 10 include ones in Orlando and Las Vegas, showing that leisure travel destinations have been overtaking some of the biggest international business hubs like Beijing and Tokyo. Still, none of the top 10 have totally returned to pre-pandemic levels of flight traffic. Well, some of the biggest stars in country music came together last night for awards, big-name performances, and an unusual hosting situation. It was the 2022 CMT Awards. Things got a little sticky when the co-host, Kelsea Ballerini, tested positive for COVID-19. But she got creative, appearing on the big screen from home, all decked out in her evening gowns. Ballerini also performed her new single from her backyard. Meanwhile, her co-host, Avengers actor Anthony Mackie, held down the fort in Nashville for the in-person audience. Another big moment of the night, the Judds had their first major award show performance in more than 2 decades. As for the awards, the biggest one of the night, Video of the Year, went to Carrie Underwood and Jason Aldean for If I Didn't Love You. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, this podcast is sponsored by Pampers. Okay, parents, if you have an active baby or toddler like I do, then you know that means they're not just active at playtime, they're also active on the changing table, which is not so fun for us parents. That's just one of the reasons I am loving Pampers Cruisers 360 Fit diapers. Cruisers 360 Fit allows me to avoid trying to secure the diaper tape between kicks, and instead it's quick and easy to just pull them on my little wiggly one. Then it's super easy to remove them in seconds with easy tear sides. And the 360 gap-free fit is great for playtime as well. I love that it stretches around my baby's waist so there's no gapping, leaking, or falling off. Instead, my baby is free to play, feeling comfortable and dry. In fact, to keep baby skin healthy, Cruisers 360 Fit locks wetness away from skin for up to 12 hours. It lets us all sleep through the night, and little rashes here and there that we used to notice are not happening anymore. So buy in-store, look for the Pampers Cruisers 360 Fit, and download the Pampers Club app today to start earning rewards with every diapers and wipes purchase. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is, how many eyes does a bee have? You can answer the question and play along on Instagram. Just find and follow us at NewsworthyPod, and look for the trivia quiz in our Instagram stories today. As for last week's trivia question, what's the most expensive home in the world? The answer is Buckingham Palace. Architectural Digest says the price tag goes all the way up to $1 billion. Since 1837, Buckingham Palace has been the official home of the British royal family, and it still serves as the headquarters of the monarchy, where official events, celebrations, and ceremonies are held. This is also where Queen Elizabeth meets with the Prime Minister once a week, and all the while, it's still a family home. The palace has 775 rooms. Those include the royal and guest bedrooms, staterooms, staff bedrooms, offices, and 78 bathrooms. If you want to check it out, Buckingham Palace is open to the public during the summer months and for a few tours in December, January, and at Easter. All right, thank you so much for listening today. And as part of your daily routine, we'll be back with another news roundup tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.